I did have a conversation with my CBI contact, Wednesday. This is why I am very excited. I could hardly believe that now the economic experts have finally turned to the mantra. The new mantra is, let's go to Forex. This was the same tone in my conversation. My contact sounded very excited and anticipatory. I have had a couple of check-ins, including one from a bond contact in Asia who is being told they should expect it the 21st and 22nd, they have everything in place. When bond folks start paying out, we will start making appointments. Many sources are still looking at the 21st and 22nd. I am cautiously excited and extremely optimistic. Does President Trump have to be in as inaugurated as president for us to get the RV? I've been told no, he does not have to be back in as president for this to happen. So we're pushing it closely. We're getting there, but let's see what happens in the next few days. 4 days separate Iraq from a phase full of unexpected events. Quote, Donald Trump will officially assume the US presidency on January 20th. Trump will move to remove part of the ruling class loyal to or linked to Iran, because it is time to resolve the situation according to regional and international balances. I'm extremely excited because the third reading of the budget amendment is basically guaranteed. Why would I say such a thing? Because if they don't do the third reading, 15 days later the budget is exposed. It exposes everything, and once it does, then you got to figure out float or basket. I don't have to be the first person when the dinar goes. That's fine. When it goes, I'm going to be a happy man. I'll be a happy family too. There's going to be a bright future. Question, it supposedly was on Forex at $4.19. However, when I went back to look at it again, I couldn't find it. Did anyone else see it? Marks, most of the rates we are seeing on the IQD now is close to $4 bucks. I still believe the dong will be in the low $2 range. We won't know for certain until we are at the banks. In London. Iraq signs new memoranda of understanding with British companies in various fields. Quote, in the British capital, London, a ceremony was held to sign a number of memoranda of understanding between the Iraqi public and private sectors and a number of British companies and institutions, in a number of fields, in the presence of the Deputy Prime Ministers. Prime Minister Sudani went to the UK Britain to put together a massive trade MO agreement worth billions of dollars, a very large trade agreement. It definitely will require the rate change in order to implement that. The HCL, like the budget, those two things will expose the new exchange rate. The HCL and the budget will be the first indicator of the new exchange rate EMO. The Grand Four port is really important to Iraq. This will allow them to be able to do a lot of trade globally. The ships will just pull right into this port and you'll have a lot of goods coming in and out right at this section of Iraq. This is awesome. The development road is really big that allows a mass transportation. They have a railroad that's going to be made right next to it. The same thing, great for global business. You'll have a train that's able to deliver the goods wherever need be there in Iraq. Things are looking up for Iraq. This is great for business. These things will help expand Iraq internationally and help strengthen the Iraqi dinar. Eventually it'll get stronger over time and you'll see the value of the Iraqi dinar increase against the US dollar. The Central Bank Tower project in Baghdad and the Grand Four port is Basra, among the list of the most prominent mega projects in the world for the year 2025. I don't know about you guys, but that's pretty big. Anybody out there has a fresh new picture of the Central Bank of Iraq from a distance, so you can see that the cranes are down and all that. That'll be pretty exciting for me. Question, do you feel like everything is done in Iraq and we are simply on the Ferris wheel? Marks, I believe we have crossed the finish line and are just waiting for the announcement in the winner's circle. Iraqi parliament responds to U.S. State Department, "Your interference in budget is unacceptable." Quote, on Wednesday, the U.S. State Department urged the Iraqi parliament to expedite the passage of Iraq's federal budget. "We have worked with the federal government of Iraq and the Kurdistan regional government to reach a permanent budget agreement," State Department spokesman Matthew Miller said in a press briefing at the department. The Foreign Relations Committee in the Iraqi parliament responded, on Thursday, to the U.S. State Department's statements. "The statements of the U.S. State Department are unacceptable." The head of the organizing body of the Popular Movement for the Belt and Road, Hussein al-Karyawi, stressed on Friday the importance of al-Sudani exposing the American pressures and demands imposed by Washington on Baghdad. Al-Karawi told Al-Maluma, "Everyone must realize that the American side will not deviate from its interests inside Iraq, as the American administration will stand against any projects that serve the Iraqi people at the expense of its interests." He added, "Breaking the American will and authority imposed on Iraq requires a strong political voice and a deterrent stance against all plans, in addition to the importance of the Prime Minister revealing what the Americans want and what demands they are imposing regarding the Popular Mobilization File, and their attempt to empty the arena for ISIS and Baathists." He explained that America has control over the Iraqi economic and financial file, and this makes it the authority over Iraq, and therefore it exerts pressure and imposes dictates to ensure the achievement of its interests inside Iraq. Moody's credit rating agency expected that the Middle East and North Africa countries would lead economic growth during the current year, supported by the recovery of oil production and the progress of investment projects. The agency estimated that economic growth in the Middle East and North Africa region would accelerate to 2.9% in 2025, compared to estimates of about 2.1% for 2024. The acceleration was attributed to stronger growth among oil-exporting countries in the region, as a result of the partial decline in oil production cuts under the OPEC+ agreement, and non-oil investments as part of efforts to diversify the economy will support economic growth, according to a report reviewed by Al Arabiya Business. Real GDP growth in the region's oil-exporting countries is expected to rise to 3.5% in 2025, compared to an estimate of 1.9% for 2024, as increased oil production contributes to raising the overall growth rate by about 0.5% this year. This is due to Iraq, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Kuwait and Oman starting to abandon some of the oil production cuts implemented in 2023, and will also reflect higher production in the UAE as a result of the agreed increase in the country's core quota under OPEC+, which will be gradually implemented during 2025. During 2023 and 2024, oil production cuts reduced growth in oil-exporting countries by more than 3% during both years. Challenges of increasing production. But Moody's noted that there are challenges facing increased oil production due to slower demand growth among major importers, especially China, and increased oil production outside OPEC+, especially in the United States.